Welcome to the Scrumdown, where we talk everything rugby. My name is Skulk, and today I'm joined by Peter van Onselen, who is the SPORT1 news anchor. Welcome to the show today, Peter.
Thanks for having me, Skulk. It's good to be here with you.
Fantastic. So today we're going to cover everything that's recently happening in the world of rugby. So we're going to focus a bit on wrapping up the championship, Rugby Championship. We're going to have a look at the United Rugby Championship and also a bit on women rugby. So let's get into it. So I think first up, let's have a quick look at the Rugby Championship. We saw the Springboks taking the title at the end of it. This is the first time since 2019.
I mean, it was an amazing time. It was an amazing tournament. The only blip, obviously, coming against Argentina away from home. But how often can we say we beat the All Blacks back to back? It's incredible.
Well, not even back to back. It's now 4 times in a row.
Yeah,
this is the first time we actually managed to do this in the modern era, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
We also, obviously, the All Blacks have some grafting to do on their side, but that's fantastic.
But it's not often we can say that about the All Blacks.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are, they're pretty streamlined, and it was an incredible time on the back of the World Cup victory into a Rugby Championship. The talk about it was, is this the best team ever? Or the best period of South African rugby ever? It's pretty hard to match that.
I think it is, and especially if you look at the previous 2019 we won, and since then we actually did not manage to get a Rugby Championship sorted out. So I think this is fantastic, and I think Rassie is now getting that combination on building on consistency. What I do like about this Rugby Championship also is that you saw a lot of new faces joining in. I think Sasha is a good example, fresh blood coming in. So I think they also understand that it's not a case of sticking with the same team, and this is really going to be the success of this team going forward to the next World Cup, right?
And also, he just always comes up with the most incredible tactics. In the line-out, catches it back into another line-out situation. I mean, who's ever thought of that? If you've watched a lot of rugby, have you ever seen someone throw the line-out ball, goes up number 2 catcher, and then he throws it to the number 4 catcher?
That's fantastic, and it happened twice, right? And as a previous lock myself, I've really got appreciation for out-of-the-box thinking.
It's genius.
I think also what he's doing quite well is bringing in Tony Brown, which is the new attack coach. So Tony Brown, just for viewers who don't know, he's obviously coming from a New Zealand background, known for their running style play, bringing that new stacking style in, and that really makes the Springboks quite dangerous, because we're sticking with that forward dominant scrums, your set pieces, that's still there. The only difference is we away from the kicking game, and we're much more focusing on that attacking running rugby. So I think that really puts the South Africans in a bit of a different space now, and it makes it quite hard for the opposition to kind of really analyse it and see what to expect.
That's right. That's the genius of Rassie Erasmus. He just comes up with plans that no one is expecting. Do you know what I mean? We've still got the big kick up, chase, 50-50 ball, which has worked for us through the World Cup. It's worked for us now, through the whole Rugby Championship. So we've stuck to that kind of style as well. But as you say, you're bringing, the back line into play as well. It is genius.
But also you're bringing in like fresh people into it. So we spoke about Sasha coming in. Really attacking, fantastic kicker, runner, and distribution of the ball. Kind of refits in that new mold. Marnie Lebok obviously came on with a lot of criticism with his kicking to the post, but his general play just really fits this mold. You see him breaking lines, that offload, bringing players into space. That's fantastic.
Yes and no. Like when games become tight, you need those 3 points critically. And we won all but one with some poor kicking for poles. So, I mean, it could have been a lot more.
Okay, but that's also the genius of Rassie, who's on the bench.
Exactly.
So you said Henry Pollard, who is the master kicker, especially under pressure, just to finish the game. And I think even someone like Pollard, who's so well seasoned, he still fits into the mold, even as an impact player. He knows his role. And I think that's part of the success, is where it's actually not your first 15, right? It's really a pack of 23, each got their role and their function, and I think part of Rassie's genius was branding the whole bomb squad.
Bomb squad, this is the best bomb squad you've ever seen.
Exactly.
I mean, it goes back to the Bob Skidsnet days, where that bomb squad used to just come on. It's like a brand fresh set of legs at 60 minutes.
Well, just that success, but not to say you're a replacement. You actually got a critical role to finish the game.
Sure.
And we saw in the previous World Cup winning 3 games with 1 point, and it's just purely that bomb squad came on and ensured that victory at the end. So
the risk of 6 forwards and 1 back to come on at the bomb squad, I mean, that's
that's Rusty's juniors there.
That's it.
High risk, but you know what? He's always
paid off.
He's there for the gamble, and I like that also because it's not safe rugby. It's always risky. Listen, came back fine, and in the past we actually seen where Kwacha actually had to move into a backline position, but why not? You know, that's
and obviously Eben. Had a great time for him. Most capped as a lock, and you were a lock. You know the understanding of the punishment you get on your body as a forward to play 28 games.
You know what is quite interesting? If you look at the overall ranking, you know he's only 16th ranked in the world. So you have someone like Alwyn Jones from Wales, 171 caps. So listen, there's a lot. But how special is that? And to have Victor Mayfield actually handing over the cap, which in a way also handing over this role that he played. He was the previously most capped Springbok.
And then
also locked, by the way, which is quite interesting. But to have that, and the thing about Eben is there's still a lot of rugby in him, right? So he's definitely far from done. So I think that also puts some confidence in him breeding a new talent.
I don't know if will he make the next World Cup?
I think that's the plan, and maybe you'll see him featuring a bit lesser full games, just to save his body a little bit. I'm quite sure because the thing is we need his leadership also for the next World Cup. He plays a big role there. I think Sia, as a fantastic leader, he does rest a lot on Eben also, just because Eben is that hard, is actually the opposite of Sia, and really just showing putting his body on the line for that.
No, I mean it's been the best string of results we've had for.
But now it's all about consistency, and we'll now see at the end of the year tour if we can continue that. I think speculations are that we'll see even more new faces going on tour, which is fantastic. But
I think we've become the world team that everybody loves to hate. But the All Blacks had that stigma for so many years that when you go to Eden Gardens, you know you're going to be in trouble. And I think we have that fear about us now.
No, absolutely. But I think also you see a lot where people aspire to be like the Springboks, because with Rassie being so, with the new thinking, there's a lot of other countries and teams that actually do copy a lot of what he's doing, and maybe in his own way, he's really just bringing a new, fresh approach to rugby in general.
Incredible.
Incredible. So I think, listen, good space to be in. Let's just see how long that's actually going to last.
Oh, it's fine. I'm happy going forward.
The Argentinians, because Argentina also had a fantastic rugby championship. Historically, I think this is their best. So they managed to beat the Springboks with that 1 point. They put a massive score against both Australia and New Zealand. Where we actually saw, and we spoke about this in the previous episode, where they actually beat the Wallabies by 40 points. Now, for them, that's the highest win over another international team and the biggest defeat for Australia. It just shows how they... If they come to on the day they come to the party, they are really a force to be reckoned with.
They are. I mean, you're going to look at the next World Cups, you're going to see them in the top 4. I think their forwards are always just so aggressive and so powerful.
But it's just that passion. You see them singing their anthem and there's tears. And the only problem for them, though, is its consistency, because in both cases, New Zealand and Australia, to win New Zealand in New Zealand, it's fantastic, but they can't do it the folling week. Same thing.
Generally, they don't travel well. I think they're more formidable at home than they are away from home.
And international teams do struggle to play in Argentina, absolutely. But just as a team, and they just bring something else, and I do. That's for the competition itself. That's just fantastic.
No, watch out. You're right. I mean, they're going to be up there with Ireland, with the All Blacks, with Australia. If not a better team going forward than the Australians. So, they're always competitive.
If you talk about Australia, because unfortunately they're on the opposite side of the scale, you see some glimpse that they've got a new coach in John Smith, and obviously they want to try new things. Obviously, you can also see they definitely have a depth problem, because they just don't have extra players to bring in. As soon as you have injuries, you can really see that team lacking. So I think that's one part that they do struggle with at the moment, but also just consistency on their part as well.
What's becoming big is that rugby league in Australia. I think they're losing. I read some articles about how they're losing a lot of players from rugby union to rugby league.
Well, and they compete
for the longevity of their careers. It's less hectic on your body. So they do have a depth problem.
I suppose the debate is open, because remember, one of the hits that's allowed in rugby league is that you can take a guy out with his shoulder, which is not allowed in rugby union. But no, it's actually proven fact that if you look look at your viewership, it's much higher for league than union, and they obviously compete with Aussie rules.
Aussie rules, that's right.
Which is a bit of a different game, but still, you only have such a big pool players to choose from.
Yeah.
So
they're battling at the moment. I mean, they just can't seem to string it together.
No, and then the thing is that's worrying for them is two parts. So one of it's they're hosting the British and Irish Lions next year, which people are like, listen, what's the point even going through? Because this is only happening every 12 years. And the next World Cup is hosted in Australia. So they really will need to get a plan to get themselves a bit more competitive. And maybe we need to filter it down because it might even start at super rugby level. So the provincial side, especially with the South Africans leaving, and we're going to get to that URC now in a sec. But if you see them leaving, it's actually open. They just don't have the competition on a provincial level or club level, which definitely impact their national game. And the same is true for the All Blacks. And a lot of pundits have pointed this out, that you've seen the All Black rugby decline since South Africa exiting Super Rugby, because they just don't have that physical encounters on a weekly basis on that level to prepare their teams going forward. So
I mean, they always used to be so competitive at Super Rugby level. Do you know what I mean? The Waratahs, they always were.
Especially in the early days. You had the Brumbies dominating for a long time. You mentioned the Waratahs. So they really had some quality players out there. And don't take away from the fact that they won two World Cups back in the day as well. So it's there. It's just then you will need to do something quite critical.
Look, we've always seen those ebbs and flows. You know what I mean? The Boks have been through those ebbs and flows as well. New Zealand and Australia are in that maybe a bit of a dip at the moment, just in terms of, as you say, their depth at building young players. They've lost like George Gregan, all of those kind of stalwart players for so many years that dominated. Let's not forget those days, because we've seen those dark days as well.
We've been there, and that's why I said the Springboks now enjoying it.
Exactly.
But let's see how long it can last. I think with Rassie, we really see some consistency going forward. The All Blacks, they're always competitive. South Africa, maybe one or twice we've been lucky because of both games we played against them, we came from behind. But it just shows that, yet again, the bomb squad, everything how Rassie actually plays this game out. And I think that's just, especially with Scott Robertson joining with the All Blacks, a new coach brings in that hiccup. He's been so successful with the Crusaders, but you just haven't seen it really translating yet. And I think he's a little bit under fire now. We'll see. And they've got a tough tour coming up. They're playing France, they're playing Ireland, so they're playing some of the best teams now. So that's going to be his real test now to see beyond the championship what can they actually achieve.
But back at the scrumming issues, just today I think, or this week, there's been some proposed new changes to some of the laws. So maybe we should just touch on that. The scrumming is now a 30-second. You got 30 seconds to complete the scrum. I think that what the RB are doing is just trying to speed up the game.
They want to speed up the game. Listen, it becomes a bit of a viewership thing. So obviously they want to introduce this game to a lot more public out there. And I think what they're trying to do is, for the viewership point of view, to have those downtowns going to the scrums, going quiet to the scrum, or slow to the scrums. Just want to speed up that whole process. So exactly that, which I think is good.
Absolutely.
You see a lot of teams actually do a bit of time wasting if they know they're playing for time, because so that's a good idea. Another proposed
rule
change was when you do a line out. Now, if you throw a line out skew, it's a scrum for the opposition team. If you now throw skew and your competing team didn't go for the ball, it's actually play on. It's not seen as a scrum.
So it's almost like playing advantage.
Playing advantage. So two things. So obviously they're going to force the competing team to be more competitive in the line-out. But secondly, also downtown for scrum. So trying to avoid that a little bit. And then you mentioned that red card.
Yeah, the red card is interesting. So I mean, the proposal is that if you do get a red card, you get 20 minutes, and then you can bring on another player. Not obviously the same player, and doesn't have to be the same position, as I understand. So
no, that's just your discretion. It's just it can't be the same player going back onto the pitch, which it's in my mind is a fantastic ruling. Where you see in big games, let's use the World Cup final, where you had your captains get red carded before halftime.
Thank goodness they're bringing it now, not then.
Wow, I don't know. So listen, it works out quite nicely. So I think. Good. It was trialled in the Varsity Cup in South Africa as well. It was during the championship. You actually saw in the last game, Argentina was actually got a red card in the last round. Same thing happened. Was stopped for 20 minutes. Brought in another player. I think it just overall just to ensure that the game flows much better as well.
Speeds up. Yeah, that's important. They said it would get it down to at least 33 minutes per half of actual play. Not stop, start, stop, start.
That's it.
So yeah,
I'm quite
good.
sure that you will see now in the URC being introduced quite soon, and then obviously going into the autumn series. So internationally it will be. So I think it's fantastic. I think it's good for the game. It's also evolving. Some of the rule changes that's not really high up the agenda, but you do feel that it's a little bit countering South African strong points, trying to get lesser scrums. I think another rule change that they're proposing is when Maul starts driving. In the past, you get 2 goes at it. So as soon as your Maul gets lost momentum, you get set, and they can go again. One of the other rules is to say, listen, after that, they need to play. That kind of counters what, but listen, I'm sure Rassie Erasmus got a PowerPoint already working all of that, so I don't think that's going to be an issue going forward. So.
Nothing's too tricky for Rassie.
So for URC, I think for this weekend, the big game, Munster-Leinster, they're playing at Croke Park in Dublin. Tickets were resold out months ago, 70,000 sold. They expect another, I think capacity about 80,000. It's going to be a sellout.
First versus third. Yeah.
But the two powerhouses but also the powerhouses in Ireland. To give you an idea, the last time they met, so last encounter, Munster edged Leinster, I think it was 1920, and the game before, Leinster edged Munster 16-15. So there's nothing to choose between the two, and those two teams do make up the Irish team mainly, and who is unfortunately the number 1 team in the world according to the rankings. There's some disputes on how the ranking actually works.
The club ranking?
No, as a country now, Ireland going, but I think that's going to be a discussion on the next conversation.
Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, anyway.
All right, so a lot to look forward this weekend. Like I said, you still have your skepticism. I'm really enjoying this URC. I think it's fresh, it's new, and it's also exposing us to other type of styles, new clubs. Osprey, Scarlets. It's all the stuff that historically we don't know, but you always see some rivalries kind of being formed in the process, which I do enjoy myself. So it's something new for the public.
You wanted to chat about women's rugby.
So
tell us about what's going on there.
So women's rugby was in a very nice initiative from World Rugby where they introduced the WXV competition. So basically what the competition is, it's a runner-up for next year's World Cup. And what they basically do is they pair all the rugby playing nations in the women's side into 3 different tiers. So a bit more strength to strength competitions, which is fantastic. So we saw Tier 1 now playing in Canada, South Africa is hosting Tier 2 down in Cape Town, and then in Dubai is actually hosting the Tier 3. So exposing into new markets, and from the games I saw, actually well attended. So I think from a brand, quite
probably
nice.
Probably better attended than your URC guys.
Wow.
I'm joking.
I like to see the stats there, but quite interesting. So if you look,
it's good for the women, I guess, to
And it's fantastic.
You look at what cricket's done with women's cricket. I mean, it's now a real commercial entity. And I guess that's where you wanted to get the women's rugby game.
Exactly. And listen, those ladies are not holding back with the skill sets, and some of them are doing some monster tackles. There's some ladies I don't want to run into myself. So I think it's good, and it's really, but also just to kind of re-promote this on a more, getting them out, getting international exposure. It's fantastic, and obviously giving sponsorships and everything else that goes with that. So when we quickly look at the outcomes, so in that Tier 1, we saw wins for France over the USA. USA actually got a very competitive, traditionally not the strongest men's team, but actually quite competitive with US for women's rugby. And we saw Canada actually winning Ireland, which is also quite interesting. So we saw quite a nice of the Northern Hemisphere, the Northern America teams actually quite picking up.
And how the Springboks been doing?
Well, okay, so they were up against Australia, they were referred to as the Wallaroos. Also a bit of a powerhouse, and listen, they did lose at the end. It was 26-33 right at the end. So they did lose it, but do give us some credit for the South African, because historically we didn't have a good women's team. They brought in Swayze the Brain. He was long-time Lions coach, also technical advisor for the Springboks, and seeing his involvement already being quite nice. So SA Rugby is also pushing very hard to groom that talent. You see a lot of grassroots level initiatives also coming in, so that's quite nice. To kind of place. So that was in Tier 2. We also saw Italy winning Wales and Scotland over Japan. which was quite interesting. And then if we head down to the tier 3, we had Hong Kong beating Madagascar. Quite interesting to see some games there. That's definitely not on the men's radar. Yeah. Spain meeting Netherlands, another 2 that's quite new. And then probably the game of the week was Samoa thrashing Fiji. The score was there 45-17. So bit of a South Pacific encounter there, but also it's quite nice to see. It's apart from the big scores here, it's actually quite nice and competitive. We see some very nice outcomes.
World Cup next year, I guess.
World Cup next year. So your top 6 teams in women's rugby has already been ranked. There's another 6 spots up for grabs worth the places with this competition. Yeah. So that's quite nice. So after all these rounds, your top 6.
And where is South Africa on that? Are we top 6?
Peter, I think as far as I know, we still need to qualify, so we will need to get some good games in for the future rounds to ensure. So that's something up, and if I'm not mistaken, that's playing in England next year. So something else for them to kind of work towards. So let's quickly now.
What are we going to chat about?
Away from all the more serious talk. Let's quickly talk about the media, the media, social media stuff. So we're going to have a look at some clips. So the first one I selected was, this is trending quite nicely. So this was during the last round of the of the Rugby Championship. South Africa was playing in Mbombela in Nelspruit, right? So a tradition there seemingly is that the supporters try to get onto the pitch.
Is it a tradition? Like I've never seen it. We obviously don't have a lot of games at Mbombela.
Well, and the thing is, they usually cut away because they don't want to give them airtime. But seemingly the organizer of this event was prepared. So what they actually did was they recruited rugby players from the local rugby clubs. Witriffy Rugby Club is one of them. And so if
security?
Well, they had security, but if they break through the security, because I had a look at the security, they don't look like the running type. So what you actually saw here was where these guys were on the flankers, and they took out some. So in this clip we're going to show now, you actually see there's one spectator breaking through the defense, for the lack of a better word, and just being pulverized by this club player. At the end of the day, he had to get stretchered off the spectator and apparently spend the night in the hospital. So.
And then the night after that in jail. What I don't understand, Scott,
because he's fine at least.
I mean, at this day and age where there's so much security, you know what I mean? It's just, I mean, and it wasn't just him. I saw other people running on.
About 20 people on the field, so I can imagine the security couldn't handle all of them, but it seems like there was quite a few nice hits.
Monster tackles there. I think he was knocked out. I mean, I saw the clip.
No, he was knocked out.
Finished.
The tackler actually showed, listen, please just bring the stretcher.
I was in trouble.
He was in trouble. But why not? You know, I think it's all in the spirit of the game at the end.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, with the onset of cell phones, which I think the footage that we've got is from a cell phone. I mean, someo's going to capture it.
No.
Someone's
You're going to get caught or get internet famous, who knows. Then we had the second clip. We're going to look at Fenter. Now, he's the blindside flanker for the Lions. This was during the Currie Cup final, right? So we saw him really just pulverizing the Shark, the lock, in this breakdown. But I think we need to have a listen, because what I do enjoy a lot is the Cossack commentary on this. Listen, the Cossack guys sound like they are talking a different game. So let's have a listen to this whole engagement playing out.
Run Fender, and I am doing. Now go run Fender, and I am doing it. Sugar Pesco Pajam, the Pangele, Tisa, Kimalomzalo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they stood up after that. I mean, he actually got up. He was a bit dizzy, but I think he left the field. He did leave the field. We were at that game. I saw him leave the field a bit groggy.
And then the last clip we're going to have a look at is that Jordan Hendricks kick. We already mentioned that in the Currie Cup final. What makes this quite nice, or actually quite spectacular, is the fact that he kicked into the wind. Now, we were there. That wind was blowing. So you see that curve coming in, and that was right, so as they say, splitting the uprights. Right in the middle. I personally don't think there was any chance for the keeping over. My heart was broken. We had to stick around for a few
I told you, he was
that.
practicing from that same spot in the warm-up to the game. And then you saw obviously the camera angle from behind, where it actually left the outside of the post. And I mean, unbelievable.
Well,
unbelievable.
That's it, unfortunately. All right, and then Peter, just the last thing we could kind of bring to our viewers is going to be our try of the week. So this was during the Lions Edinburgh game. We already mentioned this was a record-breaking win for the Lions, especially in that first half. So there was plenty of of tries to choose from.
Yeah.
So this case, we saw the Lions breaking the line, Morne van der Berg, the scrum half, nice cross kick, and we saw Edward van der Merwe coming in and just closing it off, and there was no answer for the defence.
Yeah.
Quite nicely, obviously, Morne van der Berg, one of the Lions who actually managed to make his Springbok debut, kicking over for Edward van der Merwe, who also made his Springbok debut this year. So fresh new talent coming in, and you can see
what a great try, end-to-end teamwork.
And basically starting off with just beyond their own goal line.
That's right, incredible try,
fantastic.
Incredible,
All right, guys, so that I think is enough for today, Peter.